Well, sadly, we couldn't have her in Exeter live, but she kindly produced a video. But sitting opposite my lens at the moment is the wonderful Kimberley Isherwood from Public Child Protection Wales. Kim, of all the people that we've used on The Great Resist, everywhere we go, I'm always asked, will Kimberley Isherwood be appearing live? You're more like a star of stage and screen. I know you don't want to be this person, but it's tantamount to all the work you've done. Kim, we can't thank you enough, because we're not just looking at Wales here, we're looking at the whole of children's services really across the UK. So Kim, welcome. What I'd like from you this morning is an update onto where we are and all your exciting news, because I know we've got a lot, and then what you and I are going to be doing later on in the early autumn. So Kim, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Liz. Thank you very much. And thank you to the Great Resist for giving us this platform, for allowing our cause to spread across the UK. We do seem to get more support the further afield we go than in our own country, because you know the way the government is treating us. So yeah, thank you very much for the platform, Liz. You know, we never come away empty-handed, and when I say empty-handed, I mean in the sense of service to the children. So every event we do, we come away and, you know, it's easy to judge your own performance, it's easy to criticize yourself. So we just compare it to the service we've delivered to the children, and we always come back thinking we've done the children a good service. So thank you for that. And if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to do it. So yeah, Liz, as you said, we've run a lot of cases here in Wales. I would have told you guys about the case with the NHS breast case. I'm pleased to say we saved the 2 children from separation from their mother, and we've also saved a healthy breast. The young girl has had an operation to remove the lump. There's no damage to the nipple, no damage to breast tissue, and you don't even know she's had an operation. So that just goes to show what can be achieved when you don't roll over. So I just want to remind the audience that this girl had a benign lump in her breast. We had surgeons here in South Wales from an adult service, not a paediatric service, offering this child mastectomy bras, saying they couldn't remove the lump without taking away the nipple. She'll never breastfeed, you know, really horror stories. And we managed to get from that to the child having an operation, and it doesn't look like there's ever been a problem. So that is what happens when you all come together, you know. So we are delighted on that front. She's now doing her GCSEs, and she's going to be starting college in September.
That's wonderful. But I think, Kim, just go back slightly on that. Did you end up in the High Court in London on this?
Oh, yes. Thankfully, we ended up in the High Court. So this was a joint application from NHS and the local authority. So instead of instructing a paediatric service, the NHS wanted to, and this is my opinion, this part is my opinion, they wanted to experiment on this 15-year-old girl. And I say that with conviction because in the court statements, these doctors admitted they had no paediatric expertise. So why on earth are they fighting for this child to have this treatment there when they've got no paediatric expertise? If you look through the entire court file, the word paediatric was mentioned once, and that was to put it to sleep. That was a paediatric anaesthetist. So thankfully, this did go to the High Court in London. When you are dealing with cases involving local authority, you should expect the first hearing to apply a gagging order to you. So we filled a minibus with 17 people, and we all went up to that court to prevent that gagging order. We also blew the story before we even got there. So even if they did apply a gagging order then to the mum, it would have been too late, you know. But we went up there, the 15-year-old went up there as well. And even though social services were telling the family, this was just a biopsy, the court papers. So we had gone to London. The social services were trying to convince mum that this was a biopsy. It was actually me who had to give them the news that it wasn't a biopsy. The court papers wanted a mastectomy. Fortunately for us, when we got into the court, the judge was absolutely livid. Absolutely livid. The first words he said when he came into that court were, "I am not ordering a mastectomy here today. So you get that off the cards right now." So that then, you know, because the mum wasn't going to go to court, you know. They thought that they were being pushed for a second biopsy. Social services knew what was in that paperwork, and it was a full mastectomy they were going for. So thankfully, we had a wonderful judge who, I mean, come on, what breast cancer affects what, 1 in 2 women now. He's got a mother. He's probably got a wife. He might have a daughter, you know. This is not an uncommon thing now. He would have had some experience with women and breasts, you know, and he understands the magnitude of that. So that was something you refused to address point blank. The NHS Wales was saying this is a life or death situation, even though there was no medical evidence. They would not provide the medical evidence until 3 days before the final hearing in February. And the reason why they didn't provide that evidence, Liz, is because there was none. There was none. The evidence they did provide was quite telling, actually. They were advised to seek pediatric expertise, and they chose not to. They chose child protection proceedings. So the judge then gave them an opportunity to give an explanation why the younger child is in on this case. They could not give an explanation. So he ordered them to get the youngest child off immediately, and then he set to work with finding out exactly what was going on with the child, the 15-year-old. He invited the 15-year-old into the courtroom. He spoke to her in a way she needed to be spoken to, Liz. He was apologizing to her for the discussion around her breasts, around her body. He was a fantastic judge. And if we hadn't gone up there in those numbers, I think the mastectomy was off the cards anyway. But if we hadn't gone up there in those numbers, we wouldn't have had the young girl in the courtroom. And I think there would have been a gagging order applied. Well, to cut a long story short, the NHS in Wales were forced to pay for the surgery that we had found from the surgeon that we had found, even though they tried to jeopardize it. So they were forced to pay for the surgery. And even though they were going in saying this is a medical emergency, this is life or death situation, after the surgery, the surgeon advised 2 follow-up appointments, 1 in 6 months, 1 in 12 months. NHS Wales were questioning the need for it. They were questioning the need for these follow-up appointments. So we've gone from a medical emergency, life or death situation, where they want to refer it to the Teenage Cancer Trust as well, mind. They were speaking about this in court, to why do we need these appointments? They wanted to pull out. We would not let them pull out. We refused point blank to let them pull out until we had secured payment for those 2 follow-up appointments. So even though they wanted to pull out before the final hearing, we would not allow that, you know. They were threatening mum with court. I love court. I absolutely love court. And every one of my clients, I prepare for court, even if it's just threats, you know. So going to the High Court in London, I think, was a very big mistake for them, a massive mistake. Considering they had Cardiff and Vale local authority there, they had NHS Wales barristers there. They could barely string the story together.
Kim, I think it's wonderful. I also think it's wonderful that it's somebody like yourself that prepares the story, because people always say you shouldn't get involved, but of course you must get involved. You have to get involved with the family and know what's going on behind the scenes, because the social services, you haven't mentioned it here, but I know that they threatened to take both girls away from their mother. And, you know, why the younger girl, for goodness sake? You know,
well, that's what the judge asked. The judge wanted an explanation, and they couldn't give an explanation.
No, we don't realize what's going on behind the scenes, and whether these girls are being used and taken away from parents purely so that other people can groom them in all sorts of ways that we just don't want to really think about, but which is what Public Child Protection Wales is there to do, is to protect these children.
This was experimental, Liz, and if this order had been made for the mastectomy, this would be case law. This would now be case law, and every child under the age of 16, then this case law could be used against them for removal of breasts. So let's look at gender confused children. Okay, we got gender confused children. What if we got a tomboy who thinks she should be a boy? They would use that case law to remove her breasts.
Yeah.
So this wasn't just about saving those two children in that family. This wasn't just about protecting the healthy breasts of a 15-year-old. This was for the health and safety of all children in the nation. This is case law, England and Wales case law, which can be applied in all countries around Europe. You know, when we know that, because they've applied European case law against us when we fought for parental rights. So this, if the outcome of this would have been absolutely horrific for the whole of the UK and every child in it.
Yeah. Kim, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for updating. Sorry to take you back over it, but for people that hadn't seen the earlier interviews, I know the story, and you know, it's absolutely terrific. What a success for Kimberley Isherwood and Public Child Protection Wales. And you know, this is what we need to roll out right across the country. Real people dealing with real children. And you know, the sadness that we see with the things that are happening to children. Anyway, we'll go on. Right, so we've done. That's wonderful, and God bless Mum and the two girls, and we hope they now go on to a normal, happy life, which is exactly what they should do. So that's fantastic. Right, your next news.
So we are, as you know, Liz, we've proven the democratic process is corrupt. We've proven the judicial process is corrupt. So now we are setting up a series of community hubs around the country. We have a permanent place in Port Talbot in the south. We also have a monthly hub up in North Wales. And the purpose of these hubs is simple. It's either we get together and have a coffee, we get together with parents, we help work on their cases. We're using the hubs for training because we've now written and developed our own safeguard training, which is about to be CPD accredited. We've piloted that around the country. We're also in the process of obtaining a facilitator's license for trauma recovery. So we will be able to provide trauma support and recovery programs, up to 12-week programs from the cradle to the grave. So we are now working on children, and we will be working on children and parents who are trauma affected in domestic abuse relationships. So we're rectifying the trauma amongst people. And we're also working on a 12-step program. It might be 10-step, I don't know, I'm just saying 12-step, a 12-step program to desexualize children. Because we do have a problem in this country. Children as young as 10 are addicted to pornography. Plus, we have come across a 12-year-old girl who is plagued by sexual thoughts. This brave young girl has gone to her mother to confide in her mother the thoughts she's having. It's obviously come from exposure. There has been incidents where the mum and dad are split up, and the mum has mentioned that in the past the dad would watch programs on TV which weren't child friendly. So we're not saying he was watching porn or anything like that, but he was watching films with a bit of exposure in, you know, so we feel that that may have been a trigger point. So yeah, so we do have children, especially this 12-year-old girl who is plagued by sexual thoughts. That's all she can think about is sex. Well, we do know there's programs out there for adults, and there is nothing at all out there for children right now. So our campaign has gone from preventative based to preventative/solution now, you know, because we, as you know, we try to prevent things. Now we're in a state of damage limitation, and we can't sit here and not be able to offer something. We need to be able to offer solutions. So that's why we are placing ourselves within the community. It's going to be open events. Sometimes just pop in for a coffee and a chat. Sometimes we'll have structured courses, advocacy, the safeguard training, trauma informed training, and we're working towards this program to desexualize our children. So that's our community news.
Gosh, that's fantastic, Kim. And you know, the hard work. How many of you are you closely in your team? I know two of you very well. So how many now you've got in the team?
I think we've got 5 on the committee and we've got 5 strong volunteers.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you're now covering the whole of Wales because you're talking about North Wales. Where is the hub in North Wales, Kim? Where do you
The
mean?
hub in North Wales is in a small village called Bethel, and that's in Caernarfon.
All right, just outside Carnarvon. I know it well. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
fine. So that's
So
wonderful.
the same as everyone else, we've had problems having events cancelled. You know, the government put out statements with misinformation, painting us blacklists. But I think we've kind of overcome that now. We have had events in these places before, and the people who run them have seen us perform. They do support our work. They believe our training is needed. So now we can openly advertise these things. We can freely openly advertise them. And we never have opposition because the government doesn't want to bring attention to us. So we don't have these renter mobs. We just have phone calls and emails for cancellation. But I do think we've started to come past that now. Our portfolio is expanding. We are offering real solutions for parents. We are even managing to get in some meetings in schools, and we are propositioning some schools as well to develop some RSE resources of our own, safe ones. Because we do have 2 members as well who are RSE accredited to train teachers. We got another one doing her accreditation the end of the month, which means the organisation will be accredited to produce RSE resources, safe RSE resources. So there's a lot in the pipeline. As you know, the law states that they have to teach RSE, but it doesn't state they have to use these unregulated organisations. They are free to produce their own. So that's what we are doing. We are forming relationships, propositioning the schools that we formed good relationships with. And if the powers above say no, we will be doing this as an extracurricular activity. So we'll be forming voluntary groups outside of school hours and producing them that way. We're not going to have a full package overnight. However, one by one, we will slowly be replacing the filth that's currently available.
Kim, as you know, when we were up in Gateshead with you, I persuaded you to act as a teacher and to actually teach the class using the audience as the class. For the actual lesson, I had you and Lou on the stage, and you did an absolutely brilliant job as the teacher, teaching the members of the audience what your 4, 5, and up to I think sort of 9, 10-year-olds would be taught in class. Now I'm going to ask you to do this again in September, because the biggest impact that we've had in the Great Resist was when you took the class, because you talk about what is done in education, but until they actually see the class. Now I think it's gone one stage further since we had you up in Gateshead.
Yeah. So we're now providing, so we're doing another lesson, piece of lesson content now, where small children are expected to make plasticine penises and vulvas. So I'd like to get the audience doing that, and then there'll be a little dark twist to it, because not only will I be asking the audience to make their penises and vulvas, which is uncomfortable, I will then be showcasing an actual piece from Professor Emma Reynolds on what she does after she gets children to deliver, to form these penises and vulvas. It's quite a horror story. I don't want to spill the beans on it yet. It's like something from Halloween, actually. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to not only see how the audience perform when they expected to make these things, but then I will show Professor Emma Reynolds images from what she did in a classroom, and then the audience can actually see not just the uncomfortable and sexual nature of it, but the serious dark undertone.
Kim, I will thank you. I will be off stage when you do that, because I think it takes me beyond my capabilities. I'm just so sad, so upset. The depravity of what is being done to our children is awful. Now, you've got some great news, because I nearly couldn't have you up talking to us in Herefordshire in the end of September, because you're going abroad. Tell us all about it.
Oh, fortunately for us, there are some other powerhouse groups all around the world, and we've found each other. We are starting to find each other now, and I'm delighted to say that we have joined an international coalition for the protection of children. So this international coalition is we producing an universal declaration of childhood. We do not agree with the World Health Organization's definitions of childhood and sexuality. We do not agree with the United Nations guidance and their definitions of childhood and sexuality. Therefore, we have produced our own, something we all agree on, something that protects the innocence of children, that only allows the teaching of facts, nothing unethical, no ideologies, and it empowers parents to be in a position where they can be the primary safeguarders as well as educators of their children. So this is a universal declaration which will be going to the World Health Organization and the United Nations. We're going to send it to all politicians. We want all the citizens in the UK to get behind it. This is going to be a global petition. Now, what's going to come of this? We simply do not know. Some people are saying, well, we hate the World Health Organization, so why would you want to go and face them? It's simple. We're not sat behind screens. Show me another group that's formed international coalitions that's actually got from behind their screens, got on a plane, went there and delivered it themselves. That is powerful. That is powerful. We're talking Southern Ireland, Wales, England, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Texas, different states of America. At this moment in time, we've just got the mostly English-speaking countries. And there are countries out there with different languages that are fighting exactly the same thing. But as a starting point, we focus on just the English-speaking countries for now, so we can understand what each other's saying, and we're just trying to lay this foundation. So we don't at this moment in time have any an appointment with the World Health Organization. However, there are talks in place. We also know there are people from the American administration who are interested in this move. You know, the fact that we are all going there during the same week. We're not all arriving on the same day. We're not all leaving on the same day. Some are taking their families and their husbands. Some of us are just taking our group. But this is something that we feel is important. We feel is going to make a statement. We have Oracle Films here back home who's going to be taking our footage and clipping it all together to produce compilation videos of our trip and our interviews, and possibly produce a documentary from it as well. So it's not going to be a wasted trip. It's going to be a work trip. The whole week we'll have different meetings. There'll be meetings between us, meetings with other people. These talks are still taking place. We as a group are massively delighted to be connected with ladies from the Reisman Institute. Now, the Reisman Institute was set up by Judith Reisman, who was recently passed away, bless her, who exposed Alfred Kinsey and his work. And there was a Playboy establishment which took her to court to stop her and her work. They lost the case. Judith won. So Judith was fighting this for 4 decades. She's experienced the change in laws, the Kinsey-based laws, the Alfred Kinsey-based laws, and the group are still carrying on her work. So they are going from state to state repealing laws. They've got a little tool they use, and I don't quite know what that tool is called. I think I wrote it down somewhere. But we are delighted to be connecting with these ladies, especially Catherine, because HR 279. That's what they're doing to repeal these laws. HR 279. So these ladies know exactly what's going on in the world. Catherine, our colleague who does a lot of research into the pornography, she is ecstatic to be meeting these ladies. It's not just about meeting them, Les. It's about taking what they are doing and applying it here. So I'll just use an example. We tried to set up WhatsApp groups for every local authority. It failed twice. On the third attempt, it worked. Now, we do know America is years ahead of us on this agenda, but I'm not waiting for them to get results and then wait for our results. I want to get in and take it. I want to try and feed. I want to keep trying until something works. You know, so that's what I'm out there for. I'm sourcing as many tools as possible. I'm sourcing as many tactics as possible, you know. So we're all out there for different reasons, but that's my role. That's my role on behalf of the UK then. I'm like a sponge. I'm looking at what they're doing. And even if it's something that has failed for them, that doesn't stop us trying it here. It doesn't stop us applying it here, you know? So that's where my mind is at. My mind is at getting out there, face-to-face discussions. And you know what it's like, Liz? You can't have a 10-minute meeting online, because it's when you come off, that's when your brain starts ticking. And my experience is when you're having a 5-hour-long meeting face-to-face, it's usually the last 10 minutes that something happens, you know? So you've got to give the time. You've got to be there in person. And I just feel this is such a powerful move. I'm going to be there, Welsh flag, English flag, British flag, oh, England flag. That's what I'm there for, Liz, you know? So, yeah,
Kim,
that's what we are doing.
How many of you are going, Kim?
So far, we have 4 going. We have 3 from Public Child Protection Wales and 1 lady from Too Much Too Young, who is part of our UK coalition. Yeah, so we've definitely got 3 from us and 1 of her, and we've set the target at £5,000 fundraiser to get us there. So if you look at the flights to Washington, DC as well, around about this time, some of them are £2,500. We've managed to find them for far cheaper than that. The hotels out there, the prices are extortionate. It's fully booked most places because of this big conference taking place. So you're looking at like $370 a night plus VAT. So that's the cheapest place that this guy in America has found for us. But we are the kind of people, we know how to make our money go further. So we've just booked an Airbnb, you know. So our accommodation costs cover the 4 of us. It's not price per head, you know, it's just a set price for the cost. And we know we can pull this off with £5,000. We know we can.
Is that £5,000 each or £5,000 in total?
In total.
Kim, that is absolutely extraordinary. And we will put up, have you got a fundraiser? Are you doing a fundraising?
Yes, we've just started our fundraiser, and I think we've achieved 15% already. It's only been running a week tomorrow, I think. I set it up in the middle of the night. We haven't really promoted it, but like I said, we've got 15% already. And yeah, we can do, I know we can pull this off in a total of £5,000. That's not taking into account our food. If we do get over that, then obviously that's our food covered as well. But all I'm interested in covering is the visas, the transfers, the flights, and our accommodation. We can make this money go far further than other people can, you know?
Kim, I understand that, but I also think that you need to have it, you need to have a little bit of cushion there. So if you let me have the details, we'll put those up. Because we
no
need
problem at all
for you. That's absolutely fantastic. And finally, you're going out on, I think, on the 29th of September. Well, our Great Resist meeting is going to be on the 27th, and fortunately not that far from you, just up the road in the Herefordshire area. So we're delighted to have you on the 27th, and the excitement will be then building for the 29th for you. And yeah. I can only hope and pray. I'd like to also make contact, particularly with your contacts in New Zealand, because I do an awful lot of work with New Zealand and haven't done anything on public child protection. So if you've got some contacts, I'd like to contact them, because I'd like to pull that together.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, that's fantastic. Kim, I can't thank you enough. As ever, the positive note in your voice is what is so important for children. If we have a negative voice, we'll never get anywhere. And
Yeah.
we've got to work outside the system, because the system is so rotten and so corrupt that we've got to come outside the system. I mean, really, if our governments were doing what they should, there would be no need for you or me for any of the work that we do. It should be done automatically. Child protection should be automatic, and instead of that, it's completely the opposite.
Oh, I'd just like to add another note there, Liz, and we're talking about child protection and the government. We actually managed to attend a roundtable safeguarding event through Welsh Government last week. Very surprising, because we did register as Public Child Protection Wales. This was on the independent inquiry into child sex abuse and their safeguarding recommendation 13. We were the only people on there, Liz. We were the only people to attend. There was no one from the NSPCC. There was no one from education, social work. There was no one there from anywhere. We were the only people who bothered to turn up.
Do you know who was actually invited to that, Kim? I mean, you talked about NSPCC. Do you know?
It was an open invitation for the safeguarding stakeholders in Wales. So we shouldn't have actually managed to get hold of that information, but we did, because it was sent out to different groups and different organizations, and somebody happened to pass it on to us. And that's how I just registered us, because I thought if they kick us off now, that's news, you know. But I was more surprised to find that we were the only group there. However, we had a fantastic voice. That's the first time we had a good voice. Nobody knows the safeguarding policies in this country like I do. We've only been devolved 25 years, Les. I've got a degree as well in social policy. It's not a lot to learn, 25 years. I've done a deep study into the education system and produced a report of my own. I've measured the extent to which the educational environment is a risky space. So we had fantastic discussions, I was a little bit worried coming off, thinking, are they going to pinch our ideas? But we don't care. If anything good happens, that's, that's the positive.
But that would, in many ways, Kim, would be a total feather in your cap. And you can then say that the problem is you can't get the publicity that the other people do. So who was there was it a Senate committee, or who was it?
It was a lady who was quite high up in policy.
Right.
And she didn't know who we were. And at the end, she was so impressed with us. She was asking had we connected with certain groups. And that's when I had to give her the news that we are hated by the Welsh Government. She was very surprised, but she wants to look at our training. We had the opportunity to speak, as mothers, as educated women. Because like you said, Liz, if the government were doing their job, we wouldn't be doing this now. I'd have a good career.
Yeah.
I'd be driving a smart car now, Liz.
The other thing, Kim, is that people don't understand is that parents have got no rights. And this is the thing that you highlighted so brilliantly before, because parents think that they're their children and they can, it's all down to them. Nothing could be further from the truth, could it?
No, definitely not. And I'm just going to have to track that down. I actually have a letter from a parent from her head teacher in England, where he is quoting our case law there. So I'm going to have to dig that out, because that'll be something that I can present in your conference, Liz, to show everyone, look, we told you this was going to happen. Now here's the evidence that it's actually happening,
Yeah.
So we know the head teachers in England are being schooled on our case law. And this is not just a little summary. He was referencing paragraphs.
Kim, that's incredible. And yes, please, if you can dig that out, because there's nothing people like better than, instead of, it's a bit like when you actually took the class, that it was the actual lesson plan. That is fact. We can talk about things, but when you can produce the facts, that is what is so powerful. And I hope that you come across somebody called Robert Kennedy Jr., who I know you know all about in America. And from a little inside that I've got, we'll see that we can make sure that he comes across you and you come across him, because if
Brilliant.
anybody has done anything for children in America, it's Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, well, that'd be brilliant, Liz. Any contacts we can make, guys, throw them our way. It's only a short trip, but it's going to be a busy trip. We're there to work. We're not on a jolly, Liz. You know me. I'm a grafter, and our itinerary is going to be jam-packed. We're going to be exhausted coming home. I can assure you that we're going to be exhausted coming home.
You'll be exhausted.
We're not going to be coming home empty-handed. We're going to be coming home with so much footage, so much information, and most important of all, some new tools.
Right, and also coming on this program to update us when you get back, having got over. Yeah, wonderful. Kim, thank you. I can't thank you enough. Take care.
Thank you.